Okay, greetings everybody. And today's topic is part 2 of nationality and color. There's some things that I left out that I gotta clarify, right? Number one is that I had a so-called African, rather Alkebulan guy that was born and raised in the motherland, so-called Africa, that I was talking to, that I had to inform that he was not African. So he was like, "What you mean, Yaya? I'm African. I was born in Africa. I was raised in Africa." I said, "No, you wasn't." He said, "Man, yes, I was, man. My mother and father was born in Africa." I said, "No, they wasn't." He was like, "Yaya, what you talking about?" I said, "Man, first of all, right, you're not an African because the word African comes from a Caucasian European that was born in Europe. His name and origination of his name comes from European descent. I think it's Dutch. And he branded us as so-called African, right? I say, so if the name originated from Europe, it is not an African word, how are you an African? He said, wow. He said, I never thought about it that way. I didn't know that. I didn't know that the word African didn't originate from my people. It originated from a Caucasian. So, if the name Africa originated from a Caucasian, how can we be African when we was here before they was? Whoa, don't make sense, do it, right? So we can't be African when the name didn't originate from so-called Africa, Alkebulan. It originated from Europe, European descent. And our languages didn't originate from Europe. It originated from the motherland, right? The beginning, the land of the two blacks, so-called Africa, rather Alkebulan, right? Numidia, Nubia, Mexican, Asia, right? Okay, now that we understand that this word, right, comes from European descent, I hope that a lot of y'all stop identifying with being Afro-American. They don't even give you the whole word. They say you half of an African, right? Alright, but which is more of an insult. See, we are Alkebulanian, and the ones that are Alkebulanian that migrated over here, that were so-called Indians, but we're not Indians. We are natives, but we're not Indians. I am Cherokee, right? We're not Indian because Christopher Columbus named them over here Indians because they looked at like them Indians over from India. Now, the word India are Indians. That word Indian comes from the word India, right? Natives didn't come from India. They came from the motherland, Alkebulan, right? So therefore, these people over here, because they had the tan skin, like me, right? They classified as Indian because we wasn't real dark, right? When you got a lot of so-called Africans, Alkebulanians, that are real dark, right? However, you have some of them over there that look like me and some light skin because they are mixing with Caucasians. The same way when Caucasians was raping our ancestors, our women, doing so-called slavery, right? This is where we get our pigments from. Mixing, gravitation, the Canaanites, right? Whom God say don't intermarry with them in the Bible. Whom God say that they would turn your hearts against me. They would turn you from serving me and serve other gods, like right now today, like in the book of Isaiah, where it say they make with their own hands images to serve from, to worship and serve from with their own fingers, from which they have made, right? You serve things that your own fingers have made, right? But there's a parable, right? An Islamic parable, they call a hadith, that states that there was a time that Prophet Abraham, wa alayhi salam, stated that he went into a temple of all gods, right? Where you can, anybody can go in there and they can serve God any type of way they want, all their own gods, Buddha, Vishnu, Nirvana, whatever, right? Jesus, whatever, right? That's another topic, right? Because his real name is Yahshua. They changed his name, they changed his skin color, they changed his teachings, right? All that stuff is fake, right? They got you sitting around worshiping, and Yahshua said to serve God in Mark, in the book of Mark, with all your heart and all your soul. Not Jesus. He said that he came to fulfill the law and not to change the law. But getting back to the parable of Abraham, right? He went into this place of prayer where everybody worshiped who they want. They had big statues, small statues, etc. So what Abraham did was he destroyed all of the statues but the one big statue. He left the big one living. Untouched. Not living, because none of them was living, right? But he left it untouched. So during the time the people came in, when daylight came, they came in and they wanted to serve their gods. Everybody came in and they was like, oh my God, what happened to my gods? Why is my Lord, broken into pieces? Who done this? Who have done such a foul thing? Right? So they said, Abraham, do you know who done this? This is very bad. Abraham said, ask the big guy. Ask the big guy. Ask your big God. Ask your big God who destroyed all the other gods in here. Since you serve your big God, but he won't talk to you. Why? Because you made him. He's a statue, right? And the fact is that you made him and I destroyed him. So your God was nothing. Your God amounted to nothing, to dust. But my God, I could talk to. My God talked to Moses. My God talked to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My God talked to Adam, right? Who your God talked to? Nobody. You made these gods up with your own hands, and I can destroy every last one of them, but you won't touch the God in heaven. And it ain't Jesus. Because Jesus, how can a man, so-called Jesus, who is really Yahshua, how can a man that is ready to get sacrificed pray to God 3 times in the New Testament? 3 times he went to pray while his disciples fell asleep. How can he be God? Since when do God pray to somebody else? Right? How can he be God? They got y'all fooled. Oh, they got y'all so fooled, it's pathetic. Y'all believe this crap. Right? And you don't know that the New Testament was made for you slaves. You house niggas. I'm going to keep it 100. Right? You field niggas. You know what I mean? They're still working in the fields and don't even believe you working in the fields. Right? Don't even understand what's going on because of your ignorance. My people have been have been placed in captivity because they lack knowledge. The book of Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 5, whatever, 5:13 or 14, something like that. Right? But because you lack knowledge, because you don't want to read, you go to church, and you don't read. Guess what? All the sinners are in church. They sitting around, running around like their heads chopped off, celebrating. No, they having parties in the church. But they supposed to be serving God. You in there celebrating in the church, wearing tight-fitting clothes, showing your breasts. You got men lusting off you in the church. The reverend sleeping with so many women in the church. The church is where the devil is at. Y'all better wake up and understand education. See, God says the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. But some people say, why should I fear God? Well, that ain't what God said. He said the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. When you fear the Lord, you start getting knowledge. You start getting understanding. Right? He said, seek knowledge and seek understanding as if it was gold and silver. Right? And you will find the knowledge of God. Right? Peace.